Thanks for joining me again today. I'm excited to welcome the start of a new school year next Tuesday and was pleased that Dr. Thomas Taylor was able to join me for this week's media briefing. This is his second year as MCPS superintendent, and I've enjoyed working with him. I've been impressed by his leadership and the direction he's taking the school district in. I was a school teacher for 17 years in the county before I joined the county council, and I remember how much work and preparation goes into the start of the new school year. Teachers get to know new students and principals, and administrators orient new teachers and parents to their schools. Bus drivers learn new routes. It involves a lot of logistics and coordination, and it takes an entire summer of planning to start the year smoothly. One change that I'm very happy to see is that MCPS has updated its cell phone regulations to ensure a more focused and productive learning environment. I've advocated for in-school cell phone policy changes for several years, and I am pleased to see these new rules go into effect. I was stunned in some of my school visits to see students playing on their phones during lessons. I could not believe that this was allowed. Elementary and middle school students will now be required to turn off and put away their phones during classes, lunchtime, and transitions. Some middle schoolers will be part of a pilot program that keeps their phones locked away for the day, but protected from theft. High school students will still have the flexibility to use their phones during lunch and between classes, but not when they're supposed to be learning. These efforts will help students focus on classwork, not their devices.
This event is spectacular, and it's just a great way to kick off the school year. I know that students are coming back. They're excited. There's a lot of energy, a lot of positivity.
I look forward to joining Dr. Taylor this Saturday at the Back to School Fair at Westfield Mall in Wheaton from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The event will feature free music, entertainment, health screenings, and information about resources in our school system. Parents who haven't gotten their children up to date on the required immunizations can also get the necessary vaccinations at the fair. The county's public health officer reminds everyone to help get kids emotionally ready by getting a good sleep ahead of the school year and talking about things that might make them anxious. 5 high schools will provide free transportation starting at 9 a.m., making this an important event for MCPS students and their families. Monday will be a special day for students attending class at a new campus. MCPS First Transition Day is to help those students to get up to speed on how things work in kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grades. This also allows our staff to prepare to welcome all students the next day. MCPS has made great progress in filling special education vacancies with nearly all of our open positions filled. It is part of our commitment to meet the needs of all Montgomery County families. There's probably nothing more important than providing the right kind of education for our residents and families. The chaos, confusion, and fear across our state from the federal takeover of police in the District of Columbia were the hot topics of discussion at last week's Maryland Association of Counties conference. Large, small, urban, or rural, every part of the state is being negatively impacted by what's happening in Washington. And here are some examples. Baltimore City is experiencing a 50-year low in homicides, and yet Trump is demonizing the residents there. He's spreading the same mistruths about violent crime as he did for DC residents. Residents of Western Maryland were denied FEMA reimbursements for their recent catastrophic flooding. Areas that are majority Republican and pro-Trump, even they can't get the support they need. Comptroller Learman reported that 6% of all jobs in our state are federal jobs, and $150 billion is tied to annual federal spending. So far, the state's lost about 13,000 federal jobs since January. Montgomery County has been impacted the most, and no jurisdiction will be spared the economic ripple effects of these cuts. At MACo, I was on a panel about the federal impacts with Attorney General Anthony Brown, Commerce Secretary Harry Coker, and Wicomico County Executive Julia Gordiano. The discussion covered lawsuits and legal defense led by Attorney General's office, the Commerce Department's goal to diversify and improve our state's economy, and the impacts we're seeing across local jurisdictions. I shared what we have been seeing so far and what we expect to get worse. Our employment numbers have already dropped almost 8,900 jobs by June of this year compared to the previous year, a reduction of 1.5%. These figures do not even include the federal workers who took buyouts or early retirement because they'll remain employed until October. Out of the approximate $300 million in federal grant funds that Montgomery County receives, we're projecting a reduction of 10% or about $30 million. Federal and state cuts could also add to these losses. By the end of the year, we believe 20,000 to 40,000 county jobs could be lost. That estimate accounts for contractors, nonprofits, and vendors that rely on federal government. Deportations can also negatively impact job losses, with immigrants skipping work out of fear. For the new budget that's supposed to be passed sometime in September or October, the positions that DOGE was trying to cut this year in the spring will not appear in this next budget. The jobs will be gone. So the courts will not have a basis for challenging the job losses as they did this spring, and the possibility of a complete government shutdown still looms because Republicans themselves are not united on the budget. In a brief note of sanity, the Senate, in committee at least, is supporting NIH funding at current levels, but they will need to find 4 or 5 House Republicans to break ranks and support the NIH funding bill. The research NIH does on behalf of public safety is a lifesaver. These numbers are sobering, and they do not account for the fear and chaos rippling through our communities, especially among our immigrant residents. We've not seen mass raids of immigrant communities or work sites yet, but once the Trump administration staffs up ICE with the $40 billion it has budgeted for the department with what I call the ICE Army, I expect more expansion deportation efforts. Here's one point I made that resonated with the audience at MACA. Throughout American history, all new immigrant groups were excluded when they first arrived in this nation. The Italians, the Irish, Eastern Europeans, the Spanish, pretty much anyone who didn't come from England. Ethnic ghettos were a reality here, and one of the nasty aspects of American culture through the 60s. I remember not being able to walk to get pizza in a nearby neighborhood in Brooklyn where my cousins lived because it wasn't safe for me there. I wasn't one of them and therefore excluded. But in time, those groups were accepted as Americans and granted citizenship and had the same benefits as everyone else. I want to point out that Hispanic, Latino, African, and Afro-Cuban immigrants have not received the same treatment as their white counterparts. And African Americans who were forced to come to this country as slaves are still in a country that has never reconciled or provided reparations for the crimes and damages that were done. After years on the front lines of civil rights and progress, I did not expect the regression of our nation's moral values and principles like we're witnessing today. They've talked about going back to pre-World War I America, which is a pretty horrible and nightmarish scenario and not a good time in American history. We must not return to the rampant racism or poor working conditions that people lived through in the early 20th century. While Trump creates divisions, stokes racial fears and dog whistles, and he pushes us back toward a time when only straight white Christian males mattered, we are fortunate to have a governor like Wes Moore. His address at the conclusion of MACO on Saturday focused on unity, diversity, hope, and support. His message was simple: in these challenging times, act with urgency and keep delivering for our residents. We can't stop all the madness being led by Trump, but we will keep speaking out and doing what we can to provide information and whatever safeguards we can. We are now into the second week of the federal government's takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department. More National Guardsmen are being sent from states with Republican governors, and by Labor Day, there could be up to 2,000 military troops in the district. They aren't trained in policing, they're trained in warfare, and this is a police situation they're walking into. These actions are horrifying and deeply concerning. Trump's takeover of the DC police is clearly more focused on deporting immigrants rather than reducing crime. According to the White House, as of last Sunday, more than 40% of the roughly 300 people arrested were targeted undocumented immigrants. If this effort was truly about public safety in the district, the White House would have restored the $1 billion it removed from the district's budget that would have supported police, firefighters, and city services. But they're not doing that. I want to thank Congressman Jamie Raskin for his joint resolution to end the president's control of DC's police force. He rightly called it, quote, a broader plan to militarize and federalize the streets of the cities around America whose citizens voted against him, unquote. The language he uses with heavily democratic cities and the people who live in them is nothing new. Unfortunately, he is not a New York City real estate developer anymore. He's now the President of the United States, and he's causing tremendous harm around the country and in the nation capital. On a fun note, this federal takeover has far wider implications for our regional economy, and business leaders have reported a significant decline in dining over the past week in the city. This downturn has had a ripple effect impacting not only the city's restaurants, but also potentially affecting dining in surrounding counties like ours. Restaurants, much like the construction and agricultural sectors, are highly susceptible to federal immigration policies and the resulting loss of work. These policies can create a challenging environment for restaurant owners and their staff, making it difficult to maintain operations and provide quality services. In light of these challenges, it's more important than ever to support our local dining industry. Restaurant Week offers a fantastic opportunity to do just that. By dining out and supporting our local workforce, you can enjoy delicious meals at special prices while also helping to sustain the business that contributes so much to our community's vibrancy and economy. Let's come together to support our local restaurants during this critical time. Your support can make a significant difference in helping these businesses thrive despite the current challenges. Nearly 24 Montgomery County eateries are participating in this year's promotion, from Gaithersburg to Silver Spring, which runs through Sunday. You can learn more about this at visitmoco.com or ramw.org/restaurantweek. So that's a wrap for today. I hope you're all hanging in there. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be back again next week. And take care.